5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Coming to you live from the White Picket Studios in Houston, Texas, this is the Realty Ruckus. If you are in any way, shape, or form involved in the real estate industry, this is the show for you. And now, your host, Alan Hernandez.
Houston, what's going on out there today? TGIF. Aren't you guys excited that it's Friday? I've been thinking it's been Friday this whole week. We started Tuesday thinking it was Friday. Did you guys catch that?
The whole show Tuesday, you kept mentioning how the weekend
yes.
what you were going to do on the weekend.
Yes.
And we were so confused.
I thought Tuesday was Friday. So for me, it's been Friday this whole week, man. It's been awesome. I've had a great week. I've been doing a lot of mountain biking this week. I decided that I'd pick that up again. It's been a ton of fun. Today we have a phenomenal show planned out for you guys today. We have two really, really special guests. Our title attorney, Ashley Patten, is here again to tell us more about all of the intricacies that come with closing title and all of the pitfalls and stuff that investors and realtors fall into. And then besides that, we also have the most famous and also the with the less hair on his head, Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is here, and when I told my assistant that Chuck Norris was coming to our show, he goes, "Ha ha ha, that's really funny." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, man? Put him on the schedule." Now, Chuck Norris is not coming to the show. I'm like, "Chuck Norris is coming to the show, dude." So he's like, "Chuck Norris doesn't come to the show. The show goes to Chuck Norris." I'm like, "Dude, shut up already, man." And so he's here. Thank you guys very much for coming. We're excited to have you guys. We want to first of all thank you for taking the time to come out and hang out with us. But second of all, we want to get into some really, really nitty-gritty details about how you guys run your business, what you guys did to get started, and then we're going to talk about some of the questions that I know people have out there. So Facebook Live, YouTube, thank you again for joining us. Any questions that you guys have, don't forget that you can post them on our page, Facebook Live, on YouTube, as well as text us immediately to 24587 with the letters RR right in front of it. Now, I do want to talk about workplace motivation today, all right? And so that's one of the things we decided that we wanted to bring up for you guys today. And this goes for anyone that's running a team. This goes for anyone, any realtors out there. If you have an assistant, a buyer's agent, and a listing agent, or whatever, however your team is set up. If you're an investor, you should have at least a virtual assistant, a full-time assistant, maybe a couple of guys to help you out, go out and look at properties. And as you grow, you start building a team. And this happens even in insurance and title, right? You grow slowly. You pick one guy and you grow from there. How do you motivate your team? What are the motivating factors that are at play? And how do you go about making sure that they're doing their job and doing it the right way? So we found a really interesting way to motivate them. If you guys have not seen this video, please make sure you go to YouTube and type China motivational speaker, and you'll see what comes up. So this guy, this business owner, hires a motivational speaker, and he tests every one of his employees, right? And the ones with the lowest scores, he puts them in front of the stage. He puts them on the stage, and the motivational speaker gets to go up there with a paddle and spank them. Just wow. Whoa. I mean, I'm not kidding, man.
I hadn't watched this video.
If you watch the video, you can actually hear them. You can actually hear the big pop every time he spanks them.
Well, first he comes by and tells them all how much they suck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's you don't speak Chinese.
I didn't catch that.
So, but neither do I. But I was reading the subtitles at the bottom.
So he tells them how much they suck, and then he goes over there and spanks them.
And then he tells them how much they suck, and he slides the paddle across their butts to let them know it's coming.
Oh.
And then on the way back, he gives them the good pop.
Towards the end of the line, you can see the last person on the line actually really goes, ah, like she really screams, man. Like he really was hitting them really hard.
Oh yeah, I mean you can see he takes a full swing. It looks like a cricket player.
Yeah, and then in the details, I read that he then shaved a man's head.
Shaved all the men's heads.
Yeah, he shaves their head for not performing right.
Yeah.
And then he did something else.
He cuts all the women's hair.
He cuts the women's hair.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's an example of great motivation in China. I mean, that's one way to do it, I'm assuming.
I mean, if we want people to work harder here, I didn't realize that's what we needed.
We need a paddle and we need a way to shave people's heads.
I'm installing a barber chair as we speak in the back.
I asked Chuck if he would let me shave his head. He's like, dude, it's already done. No worries. I'm already motivated. So, all right. So, besides that, there are proper ways to motivate people, and it shouldn't have to come down to paddling them and shaving their heads.
And obviously, that video went viral and nobody agreed with it. The guy got fired. He's not there with the company anymore.
The manager of the company got fired, right?
Yeah, the one who hired the motivational speaker. He's gone. He's canned.
That's probably good. That's probably a good thing. But, motivating your team is really one of the hardest things you can do. And so we want to talk about last episode we talked about building a team, or the episode before that. But what about when you have a team? How do you build it? Where do you go from there? I mean, there's all these intricacies to keeping your team happy. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into some of the insurance strategies that people are using, not just people, investors, realtors, all of these things you should know. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk to Chuck Norris more about that. Thank you guys for joining us.
We'll be back.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express, who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey, Houston real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back. We are back on the Realty Ruckus. David, how is the weather out there, and what can we expect over the weekend?
Well, guys, it's kind of crazy because it's at 89 right now, but supposedly it feels like 99 out there. So I guess the humidity is out the roof. And as far as traffic out there on 59 northbound across Timbers, heavy truck accident blocking the right lane and center lane. Other than that, looks like it's going to be nice through the weekend.
I actually think I could just make up the weather and traffic and be right each time. It's hot and there's traffic. You know what? That's that. I think I could just be like a real weatherman. So all right.
Well,
today,
no, because you'd be right and real weathermen are wrong.
So we have Chuck Norris here from Texas General Insurance, and one of the things we like to do in this show, Chuck, is not just talk about all the really neat stuff that you do in the insurance world. I'm sure. I mean, knowing you and knowing the people that you associate with, I'm sure you know your stuff when it comes to helping investors, helping homeowners, whatever it is. You cover the whole spectrum from what I know. And now you're even working together with us on helping us with some of our insurance issues that we've had with some of our subject to transactions. So we're working on figuring some of that stuff out together. And I love that. I love the fact that we can sit down at a table every once in a while and just, hey, here's the problem. What can we do to overcome it? But I actually want to talk about what the business itself looks like, because what we have a lot of in this show are entrepreneurs, and that could be the agent that's just getting his license and is just figuring out that, hey, this is not just a job, this is a business. Or it could be the agent who has 5 or 10 people under his belt, and he has to continuously motivate them. He has to find the right people, put them in the right place, all of that stuff. So is there a way that you can go back to when you first started, for let's just say in the insurance world, and tell us how it was that you actually built the business that you have today?
Well, I actually grew up in the business. My dad had an agency for 40 years, and whenever I graduated college, he said, "This is yours." And I told him, I said, "Dad, I'll never sell insurance."
Yeah.
You know, you grow up seeing it and doing it, and it wasn't what I thought I was going to do. And I was out of the business for.
What did you want to do?
Well, actually, I have a degree in kinesiology with a specialization in cardiovascular testing. So I worked in a lot of cardiovascular departments in hospitals and actually different places around the world. I know things that going on in the world today. I actually worked in London for a while.
So you go from the medical field to insurance.
Well, it's all it's all taking care of people.
Sure.
It's trying to help someone with something that is serious that they need to understand better, and making sure that they're protected in the end. And so it actually worked together in how I approach business and how I approach my life. But in going back to starting the agency, I mean, it's the difficult part was starting a independent agency like we are.
Right, because you didn't go out and buy a franchise.
No.
and get handed the keys. You kind of did the same thing we did. And we get that question asked all the time, why don't you just go out and buy, a Keller Williams franchise? Well, because we wanted to create our own. Right. So you did the same thing.
Right. And in the agency that my father had, it was the independent agency as well. And I knew the benefit of having multiple carriers to work with. If you only have one pony to take to the show, if the judge doesn't like that pony, you're not going to do very well. So, right?
Just for the listeners who don't understand how the insurance world works, what do you mean by only having that one carrier? So, for example, if I want to be an insurance guy, and we probably have a bunch of insurance people listening, and I want to go buy a State Farm franchise, does that mean I can only sell State Farm insurance?
Correct. A State Farm agent, or what is called a direct writer. The 4 major direct writers are State Farm, Allstate, Nationwide, and Farmers. Okay, they write State Farm, or they write Allstate, or they write Nationwide, or they write Farmers. An independent shop has multiple different providers of insurance.
Beyond those 4.
Beyond those 4, and actually we don't write those 4 because they're captive. But we have multiple different markets to play in as well. State Farm does personal lines, they do commercial lines. They're somewhat limited on both of what they want to write, which is fine. I mean, that's what their business model is. The same with the other 3. In our scenario, the way that we do business, the way independent agents do business is whenever we find a market that needs coverage, we're able to go talk to whatever provider of insurance wants to do that work and become appointed with them, and then take care of our clients. I like to say that we represent the client. We don't represent the carrier.
Right.
Okay. And that's a big difference. And whenever you're looking at what your renewals are on insurance, whether it is commercial or a personal lines product or even investors, you need to look at every 3 years, have I shopped this? Mm-hmm. Is there something out there that's better? Because insurance is set up to grab a large group of people, squeeze them and get the ones they want, get the ones out they don't want, and then hold on to that good group.
And it's interesting you say that, because I was I wouldn't call it a victim, but I was definitely the person who, once I had that insurance carrier, I was with Geico for like car insurance for a long time. I just didn't want to switch. People would tell me, you got to go get a new quote. And you get
change.
Comfortable. Yeah, you get comfortable. But I went to another person and they gave me such a great deal. And then I said, okay, well, it makes sense to shop these things around.
And then you kind of felt foolish for not doing it sooner,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't believe that I'd been stuck in that place for that long. But I guess that's a good insurance agent whenever they continue to do that renewal and you don't feel the need to go shop anything.
So long story short, you guys can obviously have a whole lot more options for the consumer out there. But let's get back to how did you go from building? How did you start? I mean, obviously you had family in the business. But when you got into it, I mean, was everything just handed to you, or did you have to just start from the ground?
No, my father sold his agency 10 years before we opened this agency.
Yeah.
No bearing on it whatsoever. That his agency was in North Louisiana. Of course, we're here in Houston, Texas. So it was starting from ground up, and we got good carriers. We got good support from the carriers, and we started going out and working with guys like y'all.
Yeah.
And making relationships and see what we could do, working with Ashley and his group, making sure that people knew who we were and what we were doing.
So part of your strategy was to go out and build relationships.
Oh, yes.
So that was the one main thing that you started with when you first started. You
Right.
decided, I'm going to go out and partner with title companies. I'm going to go out and talk to real estate companies, and I'm sure tons of other companies along the line. Right.
Correct.
All right. What about your team itself? What did the inside of the business look like? Did you have an assistant helping you, or how did that look?
As you get started, you got to have, if you're selling stuff, you have to have somebody that can service what you're selling.
Sure.
And there's changes all the time.
Yeah.
And so that was the next person to come on was the service person.
Got it. Okay. So it's you, then you go out there, you get a service person. And then as you continuously grow, you're bringing in more people.
Correct. Whether it's service or sales and working your way into the next level of the business.
You know, it's funny how similar the businesses are, whether you sell real estate or whether you sell widgets or insurance. You know, everyone has to have the same thing. We're going to go for a quick commercial break. And when we get right back, we're going to keep digging into Chuck Norris's real estate agency, how it works, what he provides. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how this affects you as an investor, as a realtor, you name it. We want to make sure your business grows. We'll be right back.
We'll be back.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express, who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey, Houston real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is the place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. Make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. We have insurance expert Chuck Norris here with us right now, and we're going to continue our conversation with him.
So we were just talking about how Chuck started his business from ground up. How many years ago was this, Chuck?
6.
6 years ago. So
So
you know, relatively still young, still new. I mean, we consider ourselves babies. This is our 4th year. and we're still, in diapers, in my opinion. We're still learning. We're still, every day we learn something new. But you had a lot of experience. Your dad was in the business. You grew up in it. So you get in and you start saying, you said your first thing was to create relationships. That was your first task. All right. Then you start building your team. So then you had someone come in and actually write the policies. That's
well, yes. You're out there and you're making the relationship. You're selling product and policies, and then you have to make sure that you have the service side of it taken care of, because you can't sell everything and service everything.
Right.
It's impossible. Same with your business.
So you go out and you recruit agents.
Correct.
Right? And these are licensed individuals. And
yes.
What is your process like to bring in an agent? Do you put them through like a personality assessment and stuff like we do?
Well, there's two different ways to do it. You hire a person who's seasoned, and you have to make sure what their work ethic is and why they're leaving where they were and coming to you. And that's a personality profile.
Yeah.
And then you have the young person who's wanting to become an agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're taking their enthusiasm and drive to teach them the business. And we've done it both ways. I can't say one way is better than the other,
mm-hmm.
but it's difficult finding the people that have the determination to stick it out
mm-hmm.
on the producer side. On the service side, it's a different mindset. It's they're service-oriented, operation-oriented people, more than sales-oriented.
So do you guys do the DISC assessment?
No.
You do a different one?
We do a different one that's a little makeup of a couple of different things.
Got
insurance.
It. Yeah. So we do the DISC assessment. I don't know if you actually walked our office, you can see that outside of our office, everyone has their own assessment out there, just so we can see what kind of personalities we all have and make sure that, what we're doing fits the personality. And it's interesting because you mentioned, the service aspect of the business is a different person. And in my head, I immediately think, well, someone that's in the service side of the business is more than likely under the DISC assessment, a high S or a high C. And as we continue to grow, we realize the more we pay attention to people's personalities, the better we are at putting them in a scenario where they're going to be very, very happy with what they're doing.
Correct.
And the longer they stick around in your team and they're producing for you, for themselves, everyone's happy that way. Isn't that generally how it works?
Yes. You have to understand who you have working for you.
Yeah.
And you were talking about motivation a while ago. Motivation is different between each one.
Absolutely.
And applying the paddle to each one of them is probably not the best way to do that. May work for one.
So that's a good thing. So you're not spanking your employees. That's good. So what are the things that you are doing? What are some of the things that you're doing to motivate your team to keep everyone happy at the office? I mean, you said everyone's different. I get that. Some people like a thank you note. Some people, may want rewards in terms of money or things.
Well, we maintain a very positive office atmosphere. Everybody enjoys coming to work. We are pretty much in silos as to who does what.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on whether they're on sales or commercial or sales on personal lines, there's just different motivational pieces that go there, whether it's
bonuses
or it's days off, or it's special this or special that, and then also there's other perks that come along as well, that from different carriers that do different things for the different agents.
Oh, nice.
Time.
Yeah, so they'll offer incentives,
right.
Little trips and stuff.
Right.
I'm assuming.
Well, insurance is stacking pennies. It's not extravagant trips.
Yeah.
It's more of a Best Buy gift card scenario.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
When you're selling $1,000 builder's risk policies, there's not a whole lot of extra revenue in there for them to do something with.
As an insurance agent, is it reasonable to say that you can make a six-figure income?
Oh, yes, it's reasonable. I will say that it is. It's difficult to do from the ground up, because as you get there, just like in your business, the more business you bring in, the more support staff you have to handle.
Right.
So you're continually making a little money, having to hire someone to handle it, reducing that revenue and shop from profit to paying someone's salary, and that keeps working back and forth. One thing that we have not done, but that is prevalent in our industry is that there's a number of agents that are looking to get out of the industry that are retiring. And so there's opportunities out there to merge other agencies into an agency. And that's, down the road, that's a possible outlet that we're looking into. But
so basically buying out other agencies,
right,
or
right.
acquiring them.
There's a large number of those that are coming up for sale in the next few years because agents are older.
Yeah.
Most people that are in their 30s and 40s, they went the direct writer route and not the independent route. And it's a little difficult to swap over once you've done it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
Your mindset's set one way rather than the other.
Yeah. So all right. So you're saying for an insurance agent, it sounds very similar to what real estate agents are doing.
No.
I mean,
as far as the day-to-day activity of what do you have people doing and finding business and supporting that business, that's all the same. It's just the product is different.
Exactly. And so, in the real estate side, it's just a matter of finding a new client, dropping them into the CRM, continuously following up. And I'm assuming it's pretty much the same for you. It's just continuously following up. And then you as the owner, you're just making sure that you're overseeing the quality control.
And making sure everybody's getting their pieces done.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Wow. I love asking about this kind of stuff because the more I dig into it within different industries, the more I realize how many similarities, no matter what, we all have. And so I love that. Now, you mentioned something that I thought was really interesting. Most of your business, in fact, all of your business,
I would say 90%
is entirely on real estate transactions. And then you do a lot of stuff with investors too, and you do a lot of business with Ashley, which means you do a lot of stuff with investors because he does a lot of stuff with investors, and so I love that because you're not out there just trying to get a car deal going. You're out there.
What I like to tell people is we're not on the corner waiting on someone to walk in and buy auto insurance.
Yeah,
we're actually here to help realtors, lenders, investors get their deal done. And we understand what it takes and that there are days that you need something right now. We understand what that means. You need it now.
Yeah.
And
I've done that with you guys. Hey, I need a policy today. And literally in a few hours, we have something. Hey, I want to ask you something. Now, from your perspective, what is the biggest mistake that you see investors making out there with their insurance?
Not taking the time to understand what their insurance risk is.
Yeah.
There is a ton of people that are buying houses to flip or to hold. And whenever they buy them, they're buying a builder's risk product that does not fit what they're doing. There's multiple different words in agencies that are called builder's risks that are not builder's risk policies. A true builder's risk policy is there for the construction period of the home only. And 30 days after that construction is over, or the last time you got an invoice from your contractor, there's no coverage on the property. So not only are you going to have an issue of you put a lot of money into it and it burned down, but whoever you borrowed the money from is really going to have problems.
So, okay, you have a builder's risk policy, and this is tremendous, especially for you realtors out there that are representing investors. You need to be able to advise your people properly, and if not, know someone that can. If you're an investor and you didn't know this stuff, you could be in a ton of trouble because what Chuck is saying is you can have an insurance policy in place. It's paid for. You're paying for it, or you've paid for it entirely up front.
Correct.
So you think you have insurance on your property, but 30 days after your last invoice from your contractor, once that rehab is complete, you have no coverage from that policy.
Right. Builder's risk contemplates the builder being on the premise.
Wow. So what would be the correct thing to do? Once you finish your renovations, what would be the right thing to do? Go out and get a vacancy policy?
Well, yes. In traditional sense, you have a home that you're doing more than 30% rehab to, or you're doing some structural work to, you have a builder's risk policy. And then whenever the construction is done, then you go and buy a dwelling policy that it has a vacancy clause on it until you sell the home. Now, if you wind up renting it, of course, then you put a tenant rider on the policy, or most of the time you actually have to get another policy written. So if you are speaking with an agent that understands what your business plan is and what you want to do with it, there's ways to do that where you're not spending as much money as you could by doing what I just laid out.
Mm-hmm.
If you're buying a $100,000 house and you're putting $20,000 into it, then you're under that 30%. There are dwelling policies that will allow for rehab of up to 20%, some up to 30% of that back into rehab. And then they also will apply the vacancy whenever it is completed. And then they possibly can lay on a tenant if you do decide to rent it. And that saves you the fee and the taxes on changing policies.
To make that a little more clear for our audience who probably don't entirely speak insurance,
Correct.
Like you just did, what you're saying is that if you're not doing a big rehab, or if your client's not doing a big rehab, you can probably just shoot straight for a vacancy policy. Correct. Or a dwelling policy with a vacancy clause.
But you have to make sure that it's known that you are doing some rehab to the house.
So we're talking about houses with, you said 20% in repairs or less. So you're really talking about flooring and paint.
Floor, paint, roof.
Something simple.
Non-structural. You're putting in new toilets.
You're not opening up walls. You're not doing something crazy. You're doing something simple, and, with the house. You can get one of these policies. You're covered, and that way, the minute that you're done with the repairs, you don't have to go out and get a new policy. Correct. And you don't risk not having coverage.
Correct.
All right. So what about the opposite end of that spectrum? What happens when let's say an investor goes out, pulls a vacancy policy or a dwelling policy, but he's doing a whole lot more than just painting carpet. He's opening walls and tearing sheetrock and.
Well, insurance comes written on different types of forms of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is doing more than that, then the coverage that he's purchased doesn't apply to what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not going to be coverage for it either. So you have to make sure that your insurance agent understands what you're doing, why you're doing it, what your exit strategy is for it, so that we can help you cover the risk that you have when you start and when you finish. And that's where I see people making a lot of mistakes. Now, granted, if it was a big problem, we all would hear horror stories about it.
Sure.
The good news is houses don't burn down often.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be the one who winds up with the house that burned down.
Right.
Well, and I feel like that's pretty much all the insurance covers is fire. Because unless you're buying all of these different pieces of it for vandalism, it doesn't really cover much.
It depends on the form that you're purchasing. So if you are buying a builder's risk policy, you're correct. I mean, that's a fire and lightning policy. It covers the sheetrock and all the different supplies that you have on the premise that could be stolen or burned up.
Mm-hmm.
It covers the contractor's tools, that are there. But as far as other pieces, it really doesn't cover those. Now, then you look at a dwelling policy. You have a TDP1 or a TDP3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the TDP3 covers mischief and vandalism and theft, but the TDP1 does not cover theft. What is theft? If somebody comes in and tears up the air conditioner but doesn't take any copper out of it,
mm-hmm.
that's vandalism. If they leave with 1 inch of copper pipe, it's theft.
Now it's theft.
Wow,
Okay.
So it's very specific. I mean, it's
correct.
You really have to know what you're getting.
Well, an insurance policy for investment is a contract.
Yeah.
And it's written in there as to what's going to be covered.
Mm-hmm.
It's written in there what's going to be excluded. So you need to make sure that your insurance agent understands what you're doing, because you don't want to get caught on a bad day with the wrong insurance policy.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned not a lot of houses burn in Houston. You're right. I remember at one point we had a contact where we were talking to someone in the city who was giving us an idea on how many houses are burning, and it was like 100 a month max that we ever saw. We're back. We're going to be right back in just a few seconds. We're going to continue to talk about this, and then I want to ask you about what's happening with the flood homes and how insurance business was affected of that here in Houston. So we'll be right back. Send us your questions, guys.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey, Houston real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is the place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. We have our special guest here, Chuck Norris, and we have Ashley Patten coming up. We're going to finish off with Chuck. He's going to tell us a little bit about flood.
Yeah, so before the break, I wanted to just see what your thoughts were on all of the flood houses that happened in the last year, essentially, because we actually had two major floods. And what's happening out there with the people that had a policy, what's happening with those houses? What's your take on all of that?
Well, for the investor world, I think it's very important to pay attention to a couple of things. One, if you know it's been flooded, has the current owner filed a claim with the flood program? If that claim has not been closed, you're not going to be able to get a flood policy yourself until the claim's closed. Mm-hmm. So it's going to interfere with your transaction on that deal. That's the first piece. The second is, what your purchase price is on the house when you negotiate the deal. You pretty much know what your rehab costs are going to be whenever you do it. But you don't know what the value of the house is going to be because people are not moving back into those areas yet and
That's
trusting. Right. If you're the first one back on the street that has everything fixed and pretty and there's still stuff sitting in the driveway next door, you
may hold it for a little while.
You're going to hold it for a while, and that's not going to fit your business plan. So once again, that's where your insurance agent can help you, making sure that your business risk and concerns are covered.
Definitely. It's interesting you mentioned that because we have a lot of people that call us all the time about buying flood homes, and we've sort of said the same thing. For now, we need to stay away from them, and we've stayed away from buying them. Unfortunately, we have one that flooded twice. What's the deal where after the house floods 3 times, you cannot get a policy? Is that right?
Well,
is that something I heard?
Not saying that it's flooded 3 times or it's had damage 3 times.
Okay.
The National Flood Insurance Program is a program within the Department of FEMA, and FEMA will designate a house as being a repetitive loss property. Until that house is designated as a repetitive loss property, there's no issue with getting a flood policy on it.
Okay.
Once it is designated, classified that way, you can still get a flood policy on some, but it has to be underwritten by FEMA. The first word in FEMA is federal. That means it takes a while. Okay. So if you're looking at one, no, it's not going to be something you're going to be in and out of quick.
Right.
And that's the concern for investors and their business plan.
It's going to take a little while to get that policy.
Correct. It's not the same as doing a standard flood policy.
Very good. Well, listen, I just really want to take a minute just to thank you very much for coming out today and giving us all this knowledge, letting us into your business, giving us the inside scoop on how you guys operate. I love that. I appreciate that. And can we have you back on the show in the next future months, weeks, sure, whatever it takes? Because I know that there's always insurance questions out there, and people really, don't know enough about insurance. We've been in scenarios where we didn't know enough on our own insurance policies, and that's just because people just don't like to read their policies.
No, they don't.
So again, thank you very much. We're gonna hand the mic off to our friend Ashley, and Ashley's gonna tell us about a little interesting scenario that he just had with a title, right? With a deal that someone went around on. Can you just brief us on how exactly that happened? So you had someone go out and put a contract to purchase a house.
Right. We open up escrow at a title company and pull the title work, and there is a child support lien from a prior owner. Well, the prior owner sold it to the seller without title insurance, and so the child support lien would obviously be a cloud on title. So
okay, so hang on. So someone went up to this owner and said, "Hey, I want to buy your house,
right?
And we're not going to go through a title company. You're just going to deed it to me." Right. And so because they did that, they didn't have title insurance, and therefore the existing lien, which was a child support lien, would attach to the property.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Those are federal, right? The child support liens?
Well, no, they're state, but they're a super priority lien. There are a cloud, and now there are homestead issues which would protect and supersede a child support lien. However, once the property was sold, it ceased to be his homestead. And so the property was purchased subject to that child support lien. And it was about a $22,000 child support lien. So
it's not a little lien.
little bit different in the subject we usually talk about.
And I'm imagining you can't just call the child support department and be like, "Hey, we're going to negotiate this one with you," right?
Well, what we did is we called the former owner and said, "Hey, what's up with this child support lien?" "Oh, it's been taken care of," is what he told us.
Yeah.
Well, little did we know that he used that to go back around to the person who bought the property, or my client's seller.
Yeah.
And basically renegotiated a deal. And so instead of paying off the child support lien, paid off the property. And now the former seller is now the current owner.
Okay, so this gets kind of complicated. So let me see if I can.
I got a little lost on that.
If I can explain this. So your client is actually the buyer of the property.
Correct.
Right. So you have a client who's buying this property.
Right.
All right. And you find that when he's getting ready to try to close on it, there's a lien on the property from the previous owner.
Correct.
Right. And the previous owner sold it to him knowing that there was a lien on the property.
Exactly.
Right. And that lien came from the owner before him from child support.
Right.
That he didn't pay.
Right.
All right. So then what happens is you are trying to close this. The previous owner says it's been taken care of, but in reality, they're looking for a way to go around your buyer.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So they're looking for a way to go around your buyer, and now the two previous owners, the previous owner that sold it to your buyer and the guy before him, are now somehow looking to work together and sell it back to themselves.
Essentially, instead of paying off the child support lien, he bought back the property.
Huh.
And my client, the buyer, already had a seller, had another, the buyer had another buyer.
Yeah, so he was going to assign the contract.
He was going to sign the contract, flip the deal.
Okay, got it.
And stood between $12,000 to $22,000.
Okay, so there's some money riding on the table.
There's some money riding on the table.
Okay, so what happened here is that the seller interfered with the contract.
Correct.
Okay, is that what I'm understanding?
That's correct.
And so we run into this all the time where it doesn't have to be the previous seller. It can be any party that interferes with a contract that you have in place, a purchase and sale agreement. And there's some party that will come in and totally ruin that agreement.
Right.
And there's a word for that. It's a weird word.
It's called tortious interference.
Tortious interference. And we run into that all the time when it could be an agent. Actually, we had that scenario where an agent will come in and advise the seller, "Oh, no, don't sell that." and that agent doesn't realize they're making a big mistake. They're thinking that they're advising that quote unquote client, even though they're not signed under a representation agreement, they're thinking that they're advising the client correctly, but that agent doesn't realize that by telling that seller not to sell to the buyer that they already have in place, they are interfering with a contract.
Right.
And therefore, they're opening themselves up to litigation.
They're opening up litigation. So anytime you know there's a contract in place and you intentionally or willfully interfere with that contract, you are liable for whatever damages that may lose. In this case, the buyer of the property had a sales contract to flip it. That's $19,000 that the former seller is liable for tortious interference contract.
Right. So what they're going to do now is they're going to go out and get an attorney. Right. It's going to cost them probably $5,000 to $10,000, more than likely $10,000 to chase the seller down for interfering with their contract. Right.
Right.
And then not only can they get their $10,000 back, they're going to sue for what they lost as well.
Right.
So this guy, the seller that interfered with this contract, stands to lose quite a bit of money. Plus, if he loses, not only does he have to pay your client's attorney's fees, he's going to have to fork up his own. And people don't realize how expensive attorneys can be in litigation.
It's going between $30,000 to $50,000 is the average defense. And that's why there's so many settlements outside of court, because sometimes it's cheaper to pay off somebody than to actually fight for them.
Yeah.
Which obviously in a case with principal, I mean, it's just, I advise the buyer/seller, the very least, file small claims court. It costs less than $120. You don't have to be represented by an attorney. They can sue for themselves.
What does that process look like? Because I know a lot of people are curious. Oh, small claims court, I don't know what it looks like. Do I need an attorney? Right now, you just said you don't.
You don't need an attorney.
What do I have to do if I want to file a small claims court?
If you go online to Google search for a small claims court in Harris County, there's 4 of them there. And basically, they have a form, a petition that you can download. Filing fees are about $75. Service is about another $35, $40. For less than $150, you could file a lawsuit. Now, what's good about the small claims court is there's no rules of evidence. So they're very lax, very lax with discovery, very lax on this. And it's kind of like the 4 of us are sitting around talking. That's the way the trial is over there too. Mm-hmm. You don't have to call your witnesses. A lot of times you're having a conversation. And for the most part, it's easy. Mm-hmm. It's something that if somebody hasn't done it, everybody needs to do it at least one time in their life.
Yeah.
And in terms of like binding, is it binding? Is it settled? Is it final?
It's binding, but you can appeal.
Okay.
You always have the right to appeal.
So it's not like arbitration where I'm stuck with the final suit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like arbitration, once you arbitrate, with very few exceptions, you can't even appeal to the Supreme Court, even if the arbitrator got the facts wrong, the law wrong, or whatever. If you can't show the arbitrator did evident partiality, which means that he knew one of the parties but failed to disclose it, it's binding. With small claims court, there's always an appeal. You appeal to district court or to county court, and then you can appeal to appellate court, et cetera.
Now, the only issue with going to court with the case that you just mentioned is they're actually losing about $20,000. But with small claims courts, there's a limit.
Right.
And what's that limit again?
The limit's $10,000.
Okay, so they would only be chasing them for approximately $10,000 because that's all they can get.
That's all they can get.
Now, the other problem that we run into is, okay, fine. Somebody tortiously interfered with our contract. We're going to go out and we're going to sue them. We're gonna give it to them. We win. Mm-hmm. But then, what then? We can't really do anything.
But then you got to collect.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part.
Right. And collecting against an individual in Texas, it's tough because you can't garnish their wages. You can't go after the 401k. You can't get their homestead. It's all protected. Yeah. You can't go after their gym equipment, $30,000 in household furnishings, $60,000 if you're married.
Their gym equipment. I've never heard that before.
Well, I'm very glad they can't go after my gym equipment.
Hey, 4-wheelers too. 4-wheelers excluded, and so are horses.
Oh, there you go.
Wow, that's really interesting.
There's a reason why O.J. Simpson was moving to Florida and Texas.
Yeah,
because it's so hard to collect on a judgment in the state. So now, obviously, you heard about when Bank of America got foreclosed on by
I saw that.
Yes.
How awesome was that?
That was great. So against a business, you start taking computers, you start taking various equipment. It's amazing how quickly you get paid. Yeah. And that's how a lawyer got paid from Bank of America. Once you start taking off computers, it's amazing how quick their check came over.
Wait, what happened?
So there's a case. It's actually a really popular case. Look it up when you guys get a chance. So Bank of America accidentally, or maybe they meant to do it, but they didn't know what they were doing. They foreclosed on someone's home, even though their house was paid off.
Oh,
all right.
Wow.
And so these people, these homeowners are fighting Bank of America. They're going back and forth and they're saying, dude, you can't foreclose on my house. I own my house. It's paid off. There is no mortgage on it. You have no legal right to do it. Bank of America forecloses on it anyway. Right. And so because of that, they hire an attorney that then therefore sues Bank of America.
Wow.
Right. And Bank of America just doesn't respond. They're like, you're a little guy. We don't care who you are. You and your little, we're Bank of America. You and your little attorney can go, fly a kite. And this attorney gets really, really aggressive and finds a way. He actually sues them, wins, and then goes in there into one of their branches and forecloses on it and starts taking things out. So he hires a company to start taking out computers, taking out cash. he starts taking things.
He takes the drawers with the cash in them and everything.
Yeah. and all of a sudden, and when I read it, it was like next day or next 48 hours, they had a check in hand on their settlement.
And that's a legal way for them to collect on that.
Absolutely. What you do is they showed up with the sheriff's deputies, and the sheriff's deputies came in there and says, okay, what can we take? Generally when you have a judgment, that's the whole thing is you send the sheriff's office out there, the constables, they knock on the door and they would try to take whatever's not collectible. But in reality, they say, hey, there's nothing here collectible, and the deputy walks away. And so it's
but against a business, you actually have something you can do.
You have something, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So with that in mind, what do you think, for example, if with the real estate agents, fine, let's say they mess up, they tortuously interfere in a contract, accidentally not knowing. Is there a way for a consumer who is owed some money to get paid? Don't real estate agents have E&O insurance policies that you can chase after?
That should.
They should, right?
Yeah, they should. They have E&O coverage, and plus what happens when a judgment gets entered, judgment destroys their credit. It becomes they have issues.
It's a big burden.
Big burden.
Yeah, we'll keep talking about that when we come back. Also, make sure you post up your questions. I think I see a couple of comments.
Oh yeah, there we go. We see some questions up there, guys.
So we're going to answer those after the break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express, who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey Houston real estate agents, this is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us, join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. We have some questions that are being sent into us. David, can you read that question for us?
Who's the question from?
We got a heavyweight chiming in here, Mr. Curtis Warden.
Curtis, what's up, brother? Thank you for joining us, man.
So he wanted to ask Ashley if he closed on a house in 2016, and we're assuming, I think he meant 2015. if he can just clarify.
I think he closed in 2016, but it had back taxes.
Yeah,
from
okay.
2015.
So that's what he. So.
Oh, so read the question. What is the question?
If I closed on a house in 2016 that had unpaid taxes not credited at closing, and it showed on the title commitment and all parties signed, should I file a title insurance claim?
I hope it didn't close at our office, but
he said it didn't.
Okay, good.
now we can give you some good advice.
Take a breath. It didn't close at your office.
Otherwise, you're asking Ashley to cut a check to you.
Unfortunately, in that case, we would be cutting a check because it's a one thing that title company does is the title company ensures that all the taxes that are due and outstanding are paid. They issue what's known as a tax deletion, which ensures against that. And it also, they issue a thing about rollback taxes. So someday down the line, for instance, if they're agriculture exemption or an over 65 exemption, and the person selling is not over 65, maybe they inherited the property, there will be rollback taxes. Now, even after they were assessed, after the purchase was done, title insurance still covers that. It's probably one of the benefits by getting title insurance. The biggest benefit is we do write, unfortunately, a lot of checks with regards to taxes.
That's a pretty big risk on your end because you can't actually control when the rollbacks are going to happen or if they're going to happen, but they do happen.
They do happen.
Yeah, I actually had a very similar scenario happen with another title company here in town, and when I went to them and asked them to make me whole, what happened is I bought a house with an over 65 exemption. When we resold it, the county came back and said, well, this person wasn't actually 65 and over, so you owe us all of these taxes, and it was like a $10,000 bill.
Right.
And so we went back to our title company, and it wasn't you guys, thankfully, because we went back to them and said, hey, can you guys cover this? And they said, absolutely not. Sue me. And I remember going to you and you saying, look at this $82,000 check that I just cut for the same exact scenario. So this is a really important reason why picking the right title company, it makes a big difference in your business, because in order for us to collect that money, we went to our title company failed us completely, and we ended up having to sue the previous owners.
So I guess the question is, because he's saying he's already written a check, is that something he needs to go back and file a title insurance claim on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the title insurance covers him.
Okay.
I mean, because he paid it. Now, it would be different if he did a refinance because he still owns the property.
Okay.
But whenever the title transfers, I mean, he's got to rely on his title company. Now, what the title company would do, title company should pay the claim and then sue the seller on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Because that $82,000 claim check, I got that back.
Yeah.
And so,
but you didn't make your client go through that process
Absolutely
themselves.
not.
And that was the hard part for us, is we had to go back and sue somebody for $10,000. And it's, it was just kind of a bad experience and left a bad taste in our mouth. And that's the reason why we never worked with that title company ever again.
Right.
And of course they don't realize it. And this, it's funny because this title company has asked us many times to sponsor our events, but that $10,000 I'm sure has cost them more money in the long run. And I think it's interesting that with title, it's almost the same thing as just insurance. It's a risk. It's a risk you take, and you can make a ton of money doing it. But every once in a while, you have to be willing to cut a check. And when you don't, you're burying somebody.
Your reputation is ruined. I mean, title insurance. It's the good thing about it. It's an allocation of risk, and we risk, and we say, hey, we will accept this coverage. And, title insurance is a one-time payment. It protects you for the life of the ownership of the property. And so if something does happen, rollback tax hits 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I mean, you're covered up to the face value of your policy, which includes attorney's fees, cost of court, and everything, the negotiation.
One of the other things I found, when going through that same scenario, Curtis, if you're still listening, is I actually ended up having to file a complaint with the insurance department. And I'm not sure what the website on that was, but I'm sure you can look it up.
TDIC.
TDIC, is that what it is?
Yeah, takes part of insurance.
And you can go on there. They'll assign a person to you, and they'll give you like a caseworker per se, and that caseworker will follow up with you on a almost weekly basis to make sure that things are right. So the cool thing about the insurance business is they do have a
process
to help the consumer go through these type of scenarios, especially if you have a title company who's not willing to help you right away. So file it, in my opinion, file it.
Right.
And hopefully you can get your money back, man.
Yeah,
that stinks.
That was a really good question. I'm glad he brought that one up, and thank you so much, Ashley. It's been awesome having you back on the show. I love having you here speaking legal with us. Right now, I'm going to pull away from the legal for a second.
Thank you.
We're jumping in toward. We're just jumping in towards the end of the show here. We've only got just a few minutes left with our guests, so I want to talk about something that happened yesterday here in Houston, in Herman Park.
Oh, I saw this.
I'm sure people are aware of this, but apparently over 16 people yesterday were hospitalized, most of them being homeless. Some of them weren't, but most of them were, who were smoking this synthetic marijuana called Kush. Do you guys know about this?
I swore that stuff was illegal. I don't understand how these people even get it. I mean, there's got to be some place that you can just make, like a store or something.
Yeah. So apparently it's even called Kush Corner, where these people get together and they all smoke it. But it was so hot yesterday. They all got so high. They all had
they had like a Kush Corner party or something.
Yeah. I guess it's something that they do on the regular.
And this was in Memorial Park, right?
Herman Park.
Oh, Herman Park. I'm sorry. That's the one right behind the zoo.
Right behind the zoo. Yeah.
Medical center, right?
Yeah. Medical center.
You're talking about the little corner where there's like a little splash pad for kids.
There is. That splash pad's also a shower for the homeless.
Nice. It's horrible, man, because it's such a nice park. It's such a great place. Like if you go out there during the day, it's a great place to go for a walk. But I mean, it gets to about 6 o'clock and it starts getting a little scary out there.
It really, really does.
Yeah. And don't ever go into one of those restrooms. Ever.
I never have, and I definitely don't want to.
I'm pretty sure you can catch the HIV just from touching the doorknob, man. It's really bad. It's really bad there, man. So, man, it's crazy because, we have such a beautiful, beautiful city, but sometimes you run across things like this. What do we have coming up this weekend? Do we have some good events happening? Something that our listeners may want to actually go to and check out?
Well, I'm not sure if necessarily our listeners would want to go on, but I know one of the bigger things going on this weekend is the Warp Tour.
What is that?
The band's Warp Tour. It's a concert.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I think that's mostly like a punk rock kind of stuff, right, baby?
Exactly, yeah.
Are you guys punk rock fans? Oh, yeah, all the time. You listen to it coming in here? We can tell. All right, so we have the Warp Tour coming up this weekend. What else do we have? We have some other cool events happening.
Well, there's this one museum exhibit that I've been seeing over and over again in the events that we send out, and it's called At the End of the Universe. And I think it's just a big room with a whole bunch of mirrors and lights. But when you step out into it, you feel kind of like you're stepping out into infinity.
Into like space or something?
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
It looks really cool.
That is awesome. And that's happening this weekend as well.
Yeah, that's going on until September, actually.
Very nice. Do we have any real estate events coming up in the next few days that we need to talk about? We do have our August happy hour coming up.
August 9th is the next happy hour, the next White Picket Realty happy hour.
Very good.
So
you guys make sure you register. Look out on Eventbrite. If you guys have any questions for us, don't forget that you can reach us live on YouTube, live on Facebook. You can always text us. Again, thank you very much for joining us. We sincerely appreciate your time. Have a safe weekend.
Yeah, we want to thank our guest.
Thank you again,
Norris,
Ashley. Thank you, Chuck. We had a great time with you guys. Hopefully we can have you guys back again.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. With that said, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
This has been the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.